Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new webinar. We are here with attorney Ruby Powers from Powers Law Group, and we're going to talk about what you need to know about applying for asylum in the U.S. So Ruby, she is a board-certified immigration and nationality attorney. She has been licensed since 2008, and she founded the firm in 2009. So Ruby, the word is yours.
Thank you, Maria. So we're going to talk about asylum. There's always lots of changes, and we just wanted to give you like a broad overview. This doesn't take the place of a consultation, and it's not legal advice, but it's an overview of information. And we'd highly suggest having a consultation with an experienced immigration attorney to, if you don't already have one, to review this information and to know that there's lots of changes, and so to make sure that you have the up-to-date information. So asylum is a form of protection granted to individuals in the U.S. who've been persecuted or fear persecution due to one of five things: race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. A lot of times people talk about asilo político in Spanish, and it sounds as if it has to only be political, but that's not the case. In fact, it can be one of these five reasons, and the membership of a particular social group is sort of an area that you can look to case law to see if you meet that particular group or not. And it's constantly changing, and also changes depending on where you're applying from, because there's different circuits and they have different case law and control in those circuits around the country. So it protects individuals from being returned to a country where they may face harm, and it's based off of international law and U.S. law. So we have a lot of experience here at Powers Law Group. I've been practicing 16 years, and even before that, I was working on asylum cases as a law clerk and an intern, and working at nonprofits, and then even in the immigration clinic at U.of.H. That I was in that program for a while. And we have applied for people from we think we counted up to 47 countries. And so we've helped on affirmative and defensive. Affirmative means you're applying with the asylum office, and you haven't been put in immigration court, and defensive is in front of immigration court. The last few years, it's gotten a little confusing as to whether affirmative or defensive, but generally the point is affirmative is with the asylum office, and defensive is that you have received a notice to appear before immigration court. So the crux of it is you have to prove the past persecution and or fear of future persecution. Usually show future as in like, this happened to so and so, I think this will happen to me, sort of with analogies. And it has to be on account of, we call that in our in asylum law, nexus, one of the five protected grounds which we mentioned. You also need to apply within 1 year of your entry. There are some exceptions to that. So affirmative, like we said, was USC, you apply with USCIS. And if you are not approved, then you would be referred to immigration court. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are denied. It just means you are not approved, that you'd be referred to immigration court. And defensive is before an immigration judge, and you would have received a notice to appear. Sometimes you might have a notice to appear. It's like summonsing you to court, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are actually in court yet. And so that is something to consider, because there's been so many different changes that there's been a lot of confusion about that, because some people do receive a notice to appear, but it's not in the system. And you can check it on the ACES website. You can also call a 1-800 number to be able to check, and with your A number to see if you are in the system or not. And so those are really important things. So affirmative is more proactive, and that is where you're going to be applying. And then if you are not approved, it would be referred to immigration court. Defensive is when basically you're at your last level and you're before the judge. But if you don't win immigration court, you can appeal if you appeal timely. And that 1-800 number, just so that you know about it, is the 1-800-898-7180. 1-800-898-7180. But now that there's this new ACES website last year or two, it gives you the ability to put your A number and see if you're in the system. Now, once you've applied for asylum, you can wait 150 days and after submitting your application and apply for work authorization. 180 days after applying for asylum, 180 days total, they can start approving your work authorization. And the most recent update is that now the work authorizations are up to 5 years. So most recently, they've allowed 5 years for the work authorization if it's that, if you're doing your first one or a renewal. And that's a huge leap because it used to be 1 year, then it was 2 years. And now, since I believe the fall of 2023, it's been about 5 years. Your first work authorization for any asylum application is your first asylum, first work authorization for the asylum is free. And then after that, you have to pay the filing fee. But now that it's 5 years, that means you might have a decision before that happens. So it's important not to apply too early because it'll get rejected. Okay. So once someone arrives in the United States, usually people are getting themselves situated, finding a roof over their heads, figuring out where they might work or how to go to school or what their new life is going to be like and trying to get secure. We suggest having a consultation with an immigration attorney to evaluate your case. And then eventually they'll apply if they're eligible, and then they would get the receipt, and they would have to do their fingerprints by what we call biometrics, and then they would wait for an interview. Now, affirmatively has a long wait. And so in reality, we've had cases that since 2015-16 that still haven't had an interview. In January 2018, they created the last in, first out program, which means that the people who apply now are supposed to get interviews before the people who applied a long time ago. It doesn't always work that way, but sometimes it does. But that is the directive for the asylum office. Generally, you need to have as many documents as you can to identify yourself: birth certificate, marriage, evidence of your relationship and your identity. A lot of times people don't have many things because they lost it on the way or they couldn't obtain it. And some people are applying for asylum because of their government at their country. They don't want to apply for a new passport because they don't want to avail themselves to their country. So there's lots of different aspects to asylum, and maybe it doesn't make sense if you are not familiar with it, and that's why you need to have an experienced immigration attorney helping you. Also, consistency equals truth. So if there's inconsistencies, they're going to wonder why and what caused that. And so it's important, whatever you've ever said anywhere, that you are as consistent as possible. The biometrics are a major, just a normal formality, and that you're in the system they take a photo and check your background check. And with your fingerprints on record. If you've ever done your biometrics before, they might reuse them and not require you to come in again. But if you haven't done your biometrics, then they can't give you the work authorization. And also, there are times when you're in court, and if you haven't done your biometrics, the judge can't make a decision. And in fact, it could postpone court. So it's very important that you don't delay and you attend your biometrics appointment. So if we're talking about affirmative asylum, in the interview, an officer will call you in. You'll be given usually a few weeks notice before that interview, and it's important to go through your application. The 3 components would be: 1, going over the application; 2 would be going over your statement; and 3 would be other security type questions. Here at the Powers Law Group, we do a mock interview or 2 or 3, depending, so that the client can really feel comfortable as to knowing what to expect, so that when they're in the interview, they're not hearing questions for the first time or feeling as if they're completely like unfamiliar with the process. When you do go to an interview, you want to bring as many originals and documentation with you as possible, because even though you might have submitted copies of that to the officer, they would like to see them to just with their own eyes, as much of the originals as possible. It's important to review the entire statement, the application, and then when we've had interviews that are like many years later afterwards, we also write have an amended statement and any amendments to the application to speed the interview process. And those are some of the important things to be prepared for. So like I mentioned, there'll be 3 parts. The one would be the review of the application, and 2 would be over the story. Even though the officers read the story, they want to hear it in your own words, and they'll be asking almost the exact same thing. This is a way for them to ensure that it really is your life, your story, and that you're not making this up, because asylum fraud is a big no-no, can be a permanent bar, and you do not want to do that. And so consistency is key. And then the security questions is really like traditional questions they ask, as well as also where have you traveled to other countries, and why did you go to them, and when did you go? The interesting thing is that those security questions are not on the 589. And the 589, even though there's been different edits of it, it looks the same for many, many, many years. And I find that interesting how they don't put those questions on there. But an experienced immigration attorney knows the questions they're going to ask, and can help the client be prepared so that when they're hearing these words, especially when we're dealing with translation, that they understand what is being asked of them. So it's important when to know like a delayed filing, if you wait too long after entry or over the year. If your statement you just do a quick restatement with somebody who says they know how to do asylum, and then later you like hire an experienced attorney, like they're having to clean things up and fix things up, that can be a problem. Like you don't mention something really big in your first statement, but then the second one you do, that's going to raise some eyebrows, some red flags as to why that happened. But if you have a good reason, and many times people either don't have the funds to have attorney representation, or are traumatized or unaware of many things. So I see this all the time. It's important to have, if there's a lot of events that happen, we usually make a timeline. If you ever return back to your home country, that's a huge red flag. So you have to explain why and when you did it, what your thought process was and what was going on. And if you've gone to certain countries that have a higher instance of terrorism or suspect activity, you have to explain why you were there. Also, you have to have a connection between the past persecution or fear of future persecution on account of one of the 5 protected grounds. If it's just there's general violence in the country and you experienced it, that won't be a reason for asylum. It's also important that with the preparation, you understand the officer is reading body language, is listening to your story, nonverbal cues, all of these aspects, and making sure you have a good translator available is super important, because just because someone speaks that language doesn't mean that they are translator eligible. The officer is going to assess whether you're eligible or not. They're going to pass on their packet to the supervisor to either approve what they have suggested, or to review, or potentially even give a notice of intent to deny, or request for information. Decisions are typically received within a couple of weeks, but sometimes it can take longer depending on the country of origin, security checks, and so on. So it's better not to have your hopes up that you're going to get a decision right away. I usually only see it really quickly when they're our Afghan clients, which most of those have already gotten their decisions, or which is mandated by Congress to have the fast decision, or they were a mandamus client. Defensive is a little different. It happens in court, like we mentioned, and they could be referred after a referral from asylum office, or if they're apprehended at the border. There's different ways they'd be put in immigration court. The immigration court handles the proceedings. It's under the jurisdiction of the Department of Justice. Under the Executive Office of Immigration Review is under DEOJ. So like you would submit the application, you would get the fingerprint request. It's important that that is done before you have the hearing and that you do everything on time. You know that you'll have a master calendar generally or a scheduling order, and you'll have a merits hearing. At the merits hearing is when your attorney will ask you questions, and then the trial attorney, ICE attorney, will cross-examine you, and then your attorney will be able to redirect. At any point, the judge could step in and start asking questions. Sometimes judges want to get to the point and might not give you the opportunity to let your whole case to be heard through the way that was prepared. And so it's important to know your judge, know the ICE attorney, and know be prepared to adapt. And I know this is a very stressful occurrence for clients on this day of the hearing. And sometimes hearings get postponed last minute, they get extended, can take 2 or 3 sessions to be completed. The judge may or may not make a decision on the final hearing day. They might reserve it to be given over a motion, over paper later on, or they might have you come in and do something else later to prove up some other information. I've had that happen many times. So it's important to be prepared for different scenarios. So highly suggest having an immigration attorney for asylum. Highly, highly, highly suggest. If you think about your life is on the line, you can't return back to your home country. The statistics have shown that if you have an experienced immigration attorney, you have a way better chance of approval than if you have no representation, pro se, and or the person that you hire doesn't have experience in this space. Not every immigration attorney does asylum, I will tell you that. I don't know what percentage it is, but you definitely want to ask when you are looking to hire. You have to be consistent. If you've ever filed anything on your own or with a notario or someone who said they could fill out forms for you, it makes it harder for the immigration attorney to go in and review everything and correct it, especially if there were mistakes made and inconsistencies. So highly suggest having an attorney on your side, and you'll have a higher chance of approval. So we covered a lot of territory. Asylum can be complex. Just want to be a resource for you. You can reach us at all these different places on social media, Instagram, TikTok, X. We have a newsletter in English and Spanish every other week. And we have all of our attorneys speak Spanish, and we have available consults sometimes even on Saturdays. Just call us at 713-589-2085, and you can schedule a time or email us at contact@rubypowerslaw.com, or you can reach us on any of these social media locations. Thank you so much for watching. We have more this month on complex U.S. citizenship matters, E-2 visas for treaty investors, and how to prepare for your I-751, the removal of immigration, the removal of the conditional residence. So again, my name is Ruby Powers. Thank you so much for watching. And please, if you know someone who could benefit from this program, please share it with them. We're also providing this in Spanish. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.